Good afternoon. My name is Jan. This is Quinten, my colleague. We're both from the Open State Foundation, based in the Netherlands, as mentioned. And today we want to talk about one of the cornerstones of any thriving democracy, namely government transparency. Richard just mentioned it, I think, in his last slide, the importance of it, and we agree. But to just dive right in, because I don't think we need to explain the importance of government transparency here. I want to give you an overview of what that means in the Netherlands, where we're based with Open State Foundation. First of all, let's talk about the legal framework. So as you can see, yeah, it's the law. We got laws arranging for government transparency. The most important one being the Open Government Act, which dates from 2022, actually has a couple predecessors. But it arranges a few key things, mainly active publication, which means any information that the government produces needs to be actively published in a usable way. We'll get to that later, what that means. Also in a passive way, meaning they, as in the government, needs to facilitate FOI requests and respond to them in a timely manner. We'll get to that later too. And they need to take care of information governance. It needs to be well managed. It needs to be well structured and usable for end users. And above all, it's applicable to any government body. So ranging from local level to national level and anything in between. And the overarching principle here is all information is open unless there's a very good reason not to open it. We'll get to that later too, obviously. First, the impact. It's undeniable. FOI requests are the basis of really groundbreaking journalism work. From toxic waste scandals to the child benefits scandal, an infamous and still ongoing scandal in the Netherlands. Again, we'll get to that later. And the government is also trying. So part of that framework we were trying to explain here, the government really is trying to be open to actually create policies that build a more transparent government, or at least it appears so. They are actually trying to do so. So they got big budgets for conferences. They've got boot camps. They've got consultants obviously coming in. Websites, search engines. There's a whirlwind of activity going on, and we've got our own prime minister just yaying there for open government. So why are we here? Why are we talking about government transparency if it's all going so well? Well, obviously, opacity is still the standard, not transparency. The black square represents all government information, but we don't know how big the square is. We have no idea how much government information is out there. We only know for sure that only a tiny fraction is actually published. Representing the white square, obviously, and then the FOI requests, which are a speck in the dark. And when information is published, it's usually very scarce, redacted, and unusable, as you can see in this picture. I think got something more to tell.
Yeah. I'm stealing Jan's joke from his notes, but it looks like the government is being sponsored by Sharpie. If you look at the documents they publish, it's quite often when it's actively published as well, but also when it's done via a freedom of information request, very relevant data is blacked out to the point it's almost unusable. And it's not like this is an irrelevant document either, because this is actually one of the documents that relates to one of the biggest political scandals we've had in recent years in the Netherlands, which is, as Jan mentioned, the childcare benefits scandal, which at its very core, one of the core issues that caused this scandal was a lack of government transparency. The short of it is that over 70,000 children were affected because of fraud allegations that turned out to be bogus, with over 2,000 of them being placed in state custody. This has been going on for years and years, and well, as Jan mentioned as well, it's still not solved. And it was also very difficult to get it to attention in the first place, because many very relevant documents which had no reason to be withheld were withheld, such that it was basically, nobody knew what was going on for many years. And yeah, there's very core transparency issues that caused so much of this, which in the end caused an entire Dutch government to resign. So what's wrong here? There's a lot of attention to open government. We have it in law, but yet we're still here speaking. We think there's really three core issues why, on what causes scandals like these, but also bigger issues related to government transparency. The first one of it is really information chaos. Here are, I think, 6 different portals that could all be relevant to me and the government information I'm trying to look up. So where I grew up, where I work, the national government, parliament, each has their own portal, and you can search through each of them, but obviously all of them matter for your own life, and all of them make decisions that impact you. But good luck trying to figure out which of these you need. And it's not only on the front end that these are scattered, it's very much internal as well, that oftentimes government agencies don't really even know all the data they have, or it's stuck in email inboxes and not managed, and meaning that when a document is requested by a journalist or by an active citizen, they have to search for months and months, spoiler, before being able to publish this. So this is really a core issue on why there's still so many issues related to government transparency. Another one is culture. We like to call this the 50 Shades of No, on why, even though there's these really big and active programs working on open government, it's often quite a silo of people who are interested in this, who have not yet penetrated every level of government, because when you do talk to them, a lot of arguments come up on why really they are the exception and why they can't publish data that other agencies can. Oftentimes they say it's not our job, or that it's too difficult because this information is scattered, or that people won't understand because it's very complicated, or that just nobody cares, even though we're here to prove the opposite. So we're really working on that's part of the work we do, is trying to rebuke these arguments and convince everyone at every level of government that open government is a vital part of any democracy. And the third and final problem we often face is politics as well. Here, just one example on related to farmers and agriculture. There's one of the efforts right now in politics is actually to limit this Open Government Act, because there's some friction between the privacy of farmers, which is really being actively advocated for by the Farmers' Interest Party. But on the other end, there's also this right to know what's going on in your environment and what pollution is happening, which is just part of the Open Government Act and international treaties as well that you have a right to know about. But that's actually actively being lobbied against to publish this, which is one of the active things we're fighting. So how do we fix this? How do we make sure that we can actually realize this open government? Well, government needs to be transparent in the first case. We need to increase the size of that white slice on what's actually published, and that they need to be accountable as well. They need to answer questions that those published documents raise. They need to be digital, open, accessible, interoperable, and that's precisely what we work on.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we come in. So to do a bit of self-promotion and to give you some insight into how we are trying to tackle these problems. Our approach is threefold. We do research, so we investigate government transparency, how are they performing. We develop tools and resources, like Quinten mentioned. Information is scattered everywhere, so we try to centralize it and make it searchable in one place through new and innovative ways. But also we advocate for transparent policies, and actually you might recognize that guy. He used to be our prime minister. He's now head of NATO, and he's actually using his old school Nokia phone there. It's only a couple of years ago. He used that phone on purpose. He used to promote a more opaque government, and used his phone as an excuse for deleting his text messages because they could only hold so many, so they wouldn't need to be stored in a national archive. Just as an example of the policies we're trying to change and the culture we're trying to change here. So we've got a small team, but like to say we're punching above our weight. We're based in Amsterdam. We've been around since 2012, and we're a team of developers and legal experts, even a former diplomat, very useful when it comes to lobbying, but also political scientists. And most of our income we generate from project work, but also from grants and donations. So I mentioned we're investigating how the government performs. We've been doing that for over 4 years now. This is our, let's say, flagship research. Every year we sift through thousands of FOR requests and figure out how long the government actually took to respond to that request. It sounds like a very easy job. We're trying to apply, use AI for it, but it's the documents are often very unusable, one of the issues. So that's also one of the metrics that we check. Is the information that's provided, is it actually useful for the requester? So let's take a look at the results. The green bars, those are the legal limits. It's 56 in the first year because it used to be a different law. So the law changed to 42. It's actually 21 days, but then an extension of 21 days is allowed, which is, as you can see, the actual number of days. So it's not hours, like in Norway. It's actually a number of days that the government agencies on average took to respond to an FOI request. So these are not just numbers to us. These are ways to kill a thriving democracy. They're really damaging. They are investigative journalists who are working on a story that see their story being killed because they need to wait for 6 months, and after 6 months, the story slowly dies. So yeah, it's quite a sad image actually, but our research does have a lot of impact because every year we're not just featured in the 8 o'clock news and every major newspaper, but the impact is also political. So multiple members of parliament ask questions to the ministers, demand change, demand policies that actually solve this. So we do see meaningful change happening.
which brings us to our a second big field of work, which is developing tools. And in this work and in our research as well, we quite often speak to journalists who are waiting on their FOI request and talk about what they need from government information and the way they publish it. And we really heard these five aspects all of the time, that the most important is just one unified search where they can search. They need to filter it. They need to be able to look into the specific fields they're looking for and be alerted when new documents happen, and also discover what they miss. We really like to do the government's job when they're not doing it themselves. So we built this tool that really makes it much easier to search through most government information, which is in this case over 2 million documents as we speak right now, and we're always adding to it. So with this tool, we really try to fix the scales of all the different platforms, and the 6 we showed are just the beginning of thousands, to bring them together and to make it much easier to for journalists to do their work, for academics to do their research, and for active citizens to participate. And it's especially useful as well for local governments, where we have 342 municipalities in the Netherlands, each publishing their data in a different way. And if you're working in Eindhoven but want to figure out what's happening in Groningen, that's maybe doable. But if you want to compare it to 5 cities, then you can spend the whole afternoon. So that's why we really worked on this unified tool, which we call Bron, or source in English. And of course, we're really working to innovate that as well, because once we have this search tool, a lot of new possibilities open up, the most obvious being harnessing AI as well, of course. So we work together with the Journalism Fund to build a Bron chat to really help journalists answer the questions they have about local policy in a way that's accurate as well. Because these local government data is rarely published in an accessible way, most normal ChatGPTs or other chatbots don't really know about them. But once you supply these and really in an accessible way so that you can easily check them with citations that link to the actual source document, it opens up a real, very innovative possibilities. And because we have the citations as well, we ensure that it's actually transparent and you can check what's going on. So the last pillar of our work as well is, once we've investigated something and once we've tried building tools, we always advocate for change as well. So a big field we've been working on recently as well is, and which has been talked about today at this conference, is lobby transparency. In the Netherlands, we don't have a lobby register, so we don't really know what's going on. The only thing we have is that government ministers publish a public version of their agenda, which in theory is nice, although it's not very searchable either. But once we've investigated, we found that only 13% of the meetings they filed in this public agenda is actually is actually complete. And we found 33 meetings that were promoted on social media by this minister, but weren't even in their public agenda. So, of course, we tried building a tool as well, which we called Open Lobby, which makes these public agendas searchable. But again, when data is missing, you can't really search through it. So we moved to our final step, which is advocacy, which we're really working on right now, is to make sure we talk to politicians so that they raise this issue and try to get it fixed. We started a petition to advocate for this, and we write newspaper opinions and stuff like that to try to really raise this issue and get this fixed. So yeah, let's connect, and we're looking forward to your questions.